Hey there everyone, and welcome to another Facebook Live. Tonight I'm going to share with you a card that I made for a class last week and using the Impressions Abloom stamp set, which is one of the online exclusives stamp set that launched last week. And of course, my all-time favourite sentiment stamp set, Simply Said. And of course this one always features heavily in most of my projects because it is a really fantastic stamp set to use. Okay, so let me share the card with you. This is what we're going to be doing. This is fairly simple stamping. All we've got here is ink, stamp set and paper. There's no die cuts in this one at all, and there's a lot of two-step stamping in this one. And also I've added, using one of the little blending brushes, some blending of the green ink around the edges, and also finishing off the inside with a few stamps just to make it all look really nice. So this is the card for tonight. Okay, so let's get started and I'll share with you the items or the pieces that we need for this card. Of course, you do need your envelope when you're ready to send. This is Melon Mambo. So this is my card base, which is a half sheet of A4. I have got 2 pieces of white. Both of these measure 10 centimeters by 14.4, which is the usual measurements that I do. I've got a 3rd piece of white, which is slightly smaller, and this measures 9.5 by 13.9. So this one is for the front, and we've got the piece of white to mat underneath the smaller one, and of course on the inside too. I have a strip of white cardstock, which measures 1.5 by 7.5 centimeters. I have a 1 centimeter little strip of Gorgeous Grape, which is this darker purple. Hi Leslie, thanks for joining me. I've also got here 3 of the rhinestones, basic rhinestones, and I've also got a piece of baker's twine, which I've coloured using the Stampin' Blends marker, which this one is the Melon Mambo. So I'm going to show you quickly how to do that on a piece as well when I get up to that, because it is a great way of colour coordinating your baker's twine or your threads to your project. Okay, so let's get started. So I do need the piece of white that measures 9 centimeters by 13.9. Sorry, I'll start that again. This one measures 9.5 by 13.9, and for the inside I've got one of my pieces that measures 10 centimeters by 14.4. So this is what, of course, we're going to do our stamping on, and Impressions Abloom. So let me grab out some of these stamps, because we actually use quite a few of these, and I will tell you the colours that we're using for each one as we go. So let me get all of these onto blocks, and we need one of the leaves, and this is one of the bonuses about having quite a few blocks. Oops, we've got the smaller flowers as well. And so these ones, there are a couple of tricks I'm going to share with you to lining these 2-step stamps up, because they can be a little bit tricky, but once you've figured out which bits to line up, they're actually quite easy. So as you can see with this particular card, using over half of the stamps from this set. And this also is one of the really good things about accumulating a lot of blocks over the years. Okay, so let's get started. So I'm going to begin using Gorgeous Grape. So this one is for the larger flowers. And there is a little bit of stamping off. So I'm just going to get just a piece of copy paper that I can stamp off with. So I'm starting with my biggest flower, and there is one leaf that sticks out a little bit further than all of the others. That is the one that I'm going to be lining up when I do my two-step or the second stamp over the top. So inking up, stamping off, and then stamping onto my card front. Again, inking up, stamping off, and the second one around about there. Hi Mandy, thanks for joining me. Okay, so as I mentioned, you can see a little bit better there. That's got one leaf that sticks out a bit further than the other, and on this one you can see the leaf, or sorry, the petal is sticking out a bit further. So that is what I'm lining up my second stamp over the top. I'm just going to move this down just a little bit so I'm a little bit more over the top of it to hopefully line that up relatively well. Hey, that's not too bad. That's actually pretty good. And again, with the second one, lining that one up over the top. So I've actually done really, really well with those two. With my original, you can see that it hasn't lined up quite perfectly, but it really doesn't matter so much with your two-step stamping. It is a handmade card and it does work no matter where the stamp lands. I'm just going to clean that bit of ink off. And I'm also going to stamp my sentiment while I've got Gorgeous Grape out. So this is 1.5 by 7.5. And I think I'm going to make this one a thank you because I use quite a few of those each month. And this, as I mentioned, is from the Simply Said stamp set. So that is going to line up over the middle, and being photopolymer, it's quite simple. So there's the sentiment ready to put on in just a little while. Okay, I'm going to pop the Gorgeous Grape aside. My next colour I'm bringing in is Melon Mambo, which is for these two cards here, and I actually should have stamped the inside while we're going. So let me go back and use Gorgeous Grape and do the stamp in the corner for that one. Okay, so again, inking up and stamping off, and then stamping into the corner, and my two-step is going to go over the top. Now, this is also known with the stamping off technique. It's also known as generation stamping as well. So you're getting, as you use the ink, the stamp each time before you re-ink, you're getting different generation of colour. Okay, so now, let me flick that over so you can see that one. Now I'm going to use Melon Mambo. And on this stamp here, there's 3 of the petals that are very close together. That is what I'm going to be using to line up the second stamp to go over the top. So exactly as I did before, inking up, stamping off, and then stamping onto my piece of cardstock. And a second time, I'm probably going to get a little bit of overlap, but that's okay. And also for the inside as well, just so we can finish that off while we're going. I have one about there and one about there. Okay, and in the process I've got ink all over myself, which doesn't really surprise me that much. Okay, so my second stamp to go over the top, as you can see, there are the 3 petals that are nice and close together. So that is going to line up over the top of the 3 that are close together. And so we'll finish the inside first. See how we go lining it up. Hey, that's actually pretty good too. I'm doing all right tonight because some days I actually don't line them up very well. So as you can see, this one here is a little bit off, but I'm actually quite happy with that. And finishing off the piece for the outside. Again, I'm lining up these 3 petals just there. Which is going to go, hopefully, fingers crossed. That's okay. Oh, thank you, Sharon. I'm glad you like these colours. I don't use a lot of purple and a lot of pink, so this is a little bit of something else for me. Okay, so as you can see with these ones, I didn't line them up quite as well, but it's still going to work because I've still got a few more stamps to put on to fill in the space. Okay, so my next one to do the little flowers is Highland Heather. And I'm going to do the exact same thing again. I do have my smaller stamp, and this is the solid stamp. Ink that up, stamp off, and then stamp on. And I'm not going to worry about any of these little flowers on the inside. No, I'm not. Okay, so I've done my little flower. Let me just show you this. So there's 3 little parts there on the petal, and they match up with the 3 little parts on this side here. That might be a little bit hard to see, but this is the easiest way that I've found to line these stamps up. And this one is around about there. So with this, there doesn't look to be a great deal of colour change or colour difference between the 2 purples. You notice it mostly on the finer line art one. Hi Corinne, thank you for joining me. Thank you, I'm glad you like this card. It's quite a simple one to do. Okay, we do have just a little bit more stamping to do. We've got Granny Apple Green, which I'm using for the leaves. And the leaves in this card are very much just to fill in some of the space. So each time, if you're making multiples of these cards, you might find that each time your leaves land in a slightly different place, because all I've done very quickly is use the leaves to fill in some of the gaps between the flowers. And I'm also going to put some on the inside as well. So nice and quick. As I mentioned, where they land, they really do work quite nicely. Haven't finished with the green yet, but I'm going to just pop that aside, clean the ink off, because now I need to just finish off my flowers by doing the little inside bit. Hi Michelle, thank you for joining us, and hello to Joe, thank you for joining me. Okay, so with the middle of the flowers, I do have 2 different size stamps. So I've got the smaller one and the larger one. So the larger one works beautifully on these larger purple flowers, the smaller ones on those little flowers. So I'm going to use 2 different colours. I've got Daffodil Delight, and it's very, very simple, just lining that up so you can do the inside part of the flower. And the final colour I'm using is Pecan Pie, which is to stamp the middle of the smaller flowers. Okay, and again, a really simple, quick job to do. Let me just get rid of some of this ink off the mat. So I've also got my little purple flowers on the outside to do as well. And my ink pad with pecan pie is a little bit wet, but that will dry fairly quickly, that ink. Okay, so to finish off a little bit on the inside and outside, let me just make sure I've got all the ink off my glass mat. I'm going to use the same green as I used on the leaves and the blending black brush as well. So get some ink onto your brush so it will look like that. If you put that straight onto your piece of white cardstock, it's going to be really quite dark and you won't get a nice smooth finish. So putting your finger, index finger, in the back of the brush head, it gives you a lot more control. So I'm going to start off my cardstock, so on my glass mat, and then I'm going to move on to my cardstock. And with the glass mat, one of the bonuses is I can continue picking up ink off my mat, and I think that I'm hoping that shows up a little bit. Now, if you have some paper underneath you, you'll need to go and re-ink your brush just to build up your color a little bit, and then it's just very gentle coloring of the front. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit on the inside, so I'm going to re-ink my brush a little bit, again starting off my cardstock and moving on, and it's just giving a really nice bit of color there. Let me show you, stand out a little bit more if I use this piece of white underneath it. So then you can see with the white, I've got nice even color and it's not splotchy, it's nice and smooth. So that is the bonus of using a blending brush. You can get the same effect using a stamping sponge as well, but the blending brushes are much, much quicker to use. Okay, so that is the stamping done. Let me grab some Stampin' Mist, move everything out the way, and just get rid of this bit of ink, just so it doesn't transfer onto everything else. So the Stampin' Mist cleaner, this is a really, really old bottle. We've since had a couple of different color changes since I got this bottle. It's probably one of my original ones. The Stampin' Mist is really great to clean off your glass mat if you're using one of those, so it's not just to clean your stamps. Okay, so I've got one more thing to show you. When I went through the products for this class, I showed you a piece of the baker's twine. We don't have this pink, which is Melon Mumbo, in the baker's twine, so I'm going to show you how I coloured that. So this is Melon Mumbo Stampin' Blends. If you use your Stampin' Blends to colour, being alcohol based, they dry really quickly. So you don't have to wait too long to use it on your project. I use the brush end, and it is simply running the marker over your bit of baker's twine. And you need to make sure that you get all of the edges as such. So you can see there, it's really fairly quick to do. You just want to make sure that you roll it just a touch to get any bits that you've missed. Now, I use a lot of the white baker's twine. So when I'm colouring the baker's twine in a darker colour, I actually use the vanilla one. So I don't use a lot of vanilla. So this way I'm saving my white for the other projects, and I've just got the vanilla that I use to colour. Okay, so that is that bit done. With the alcohol ink, it does take a little bit more to clean off your glass mat. Use a little bit of hand sanitizer and it lifts it straight up. We can put the card together now. Okay, so hopefully I won't lose any of these pieces. As I mentioned, the card base is Melon Mumbo, which is a half sheet of A4. So folding this one in half. And of course, use your bone folder. And I'm going to be using some Stampin' Seal. So my first piece I'm putting on is the piece of white, and this one measures 10 centimeters by 14.4. And I am using some Stampin' Seal to put this one on. So as always, a light hand. Don't use too much pressure because this white bit here will break. And remember that little flick just to break the stream of the adhesive. So I've got my first piece of white going on with Stampin' Seal. And my second piece, and of course this one measures 9.5 by 13.9, is going to go on the top. And I am going to use some Stampin' Dimensionals for that. And I've got a new pack of minis to use. Okay. And the Take Your Pick tool, of course. All right, so I'm going to put one in each corner and a few in the middle just to stop the middle collapsing down. So I actually have used on this card 2 lots of dimensionals, so I'll put dimensionals underneath this sentiment as well. Now, if you want to keep your card a little bit flatter, stick this one down flat with your Stampin' Seal and just put your sentiment up on the dimensionals. That way then it's a little flatter for postage. Okay, so using the piercing tool end to flick the covers off the dimensionals. And we'll center this over the top. So the actual pieces we've used in this card, really quite simple. They're just the normal measurements that I use for my different mats. Okay, again, some Stampin' Seal. And the nice piece that's decorated for the inside. And this just helps finish the inside of the card off a little bit more. So it's nice to get a little bit of stamping in there. Okay, my next step. I do need to create a banner at this end, and I'm going to just trim off a little bit of the banner. So I'll just use my paper trimmer for that. You could use scissors if you want to, but if you want a nice straight cut, you're going to want to use your trimmer. And then to create the banner, halfway, I've just snipped in about a 1/2 centimetre or so, and then I'm cutting out those little triangles. Oh, haven't quite cut that one all the way through. There we go. By doing that, by cutting in about 1/2 centimetre in halfway point, it gives you a nice even banner. Before I saw that trick or that tip that was shared quite some time ago, I ended up with lopsided banners, and I really struggled with that. Okay, so next I'm going to be sticking the 1 centimetre piece, and it's probably 1 centimetre by about 5 centimetres, piece of Gorgeous Grape is going to stick, try that again, is going to stick below the sentiment with about 1/2 centimetre showing. So you could use a little bit of Tombow glue, but for me, I use this really nice thin double-sided tape because it's not messy and it's just very, very easy to use. These are available at some of the discount stores, or if you go to some of the craft fairs, you can get them there as well. So peeling up the backing piece, and then I just sit my banner on the top. So it's really nice and easy, and it just gives a little bit more of a pop of colour. Okay, before I stick that on with dimensionals, I have got my piece of baker's twine that I coloured earlier, so it is completely dry, and I'm tying a nice big bow with this one. Actually, let me try that one again. It's curled up a bit. If your baker's twine is curly, between your index finger and thumbnail, a little bit of pressure, run it through, and that will get rid of any of the kinks, because of course all of our baker's twine come on rolls. Okay, I think that's better. So I have made my bow a little bit bigger, and I'm going to stick that behind the sentiment using a glue dot. So I pick up one of your glue dots off the roll, pop it on the back, and then sit the bow on the top, and then it sits around about there. Okay, finally, a couple of dimensionals to stick this on. And this is a nice quick card to do once you've got your stamping done. So a few pieces of dimensional. Using this take your pick tool to stab into the back of the papers. So the sentiment's going to go on around about there, and finally I have got my rhinestones to put on, and I am using the putty end of the take your pick tool. So I have one around about there, and these are the take your pick tool is really easy. All you need to do is just slide the embellishment off the little piece of backing plastic. And there you have a beautifully hand stamped card that is ready to pop in the mail to someone. And again, the inside is finished off, so when somebody's going to be thrilled to get a card like this, they open it up and they get another surprise as well. So that's what I've got for you. I know I've got reminders, but I can't remember exactly what they are. It's been a busy couple of weeks. So I do have my launch events on this Friday night and Saturday afternoon. So thank you to those who are watching and who are attending one of those. And of course, the following weekend I've got retreat. So it's been kind of a busy few weeks, which has been a whole lot of fun. So thank you so much everyone for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed seeing this stamp set being used. Let me show you again, which is Impressions Abloom. This one is now available to order and it's a part of the online exclusives. If you have any questions at all about this card or the products that I've used, please leave me a comment. I'm happy to answer those later on. Thanks again everyone for watching. I hope to see you again next Tuesday. Until then, take care.